Welcome to the Aramco Powered by House studio. It's like deja vu, Alison Lee, one of our Aramco Team Series champs. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you finding it here in Mission Hills?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I still haven't played the golf course yet. I'm gonna do that this afternoon, so I'm excited to see what this place has to offer.
You don't need to see that, Alison.
Yeah.
You don't, especially with results like this. Now, Riyadh last year, we're going to have a couple of look at some shots that you hit. Now, to shoot 29 under, the putter has to be on fire. You know, how good was the putter that week?
Definitely the putter. You know, people say drive for show, putt for dough, but I would say my iron play was one of the strongest parts of my game that week. I mean, I gave myself a birdie opportunity almost every single hole, which makes it a lot easier to make birdies if you're hitting it inside 10, 15 feet. So definitely going to give credit to the putter, but more credit to my iron play that week.
And that's what this whole segment is about. So thank you for leading into that nicely. Now let's have a look. Winning score 29 under, final round of 65. You had an energy meter score of 85, and in the final round it was 91%. You know, how good was your driving and accuracy that week as well?
Yeah, really good. My swing felt really good that week. I think I had a good stretch of events leading up to that event as well, so I just felt really confident with everything in my golf bag, especially the putter and the irons. So yeah, I mean, when you're swinging good, and it's easy to play golf that way when you pick a target and you pick a distance and you're able to hit it every time. So definitely golf doesn't come that easy all the time, but those were one of the weeks where I felt like golf was just clicking for me.
And now here we are in London, which was this year, an Aramco Team Series event, and we're going to go on to irons in a second. So this is one of your approach shots on 8. I mean, technically, what sort of changes had you made between Riyadh and this point in London?
Not too many. I usually, with my swing coach, we keep it pretty simple. I would say, if anything, in the middle of the season, if I do start to develop a few bad swing habits, then we'll work on those, but nothing too major. Never work on anything too crazy and make too many big changes. I feel like for me personally, I have a pretty compact swing as well, as you could see in that last video. So just sticking to the basics, basically, yeah.
Right, we're going to get you to talk through that now. Step onto the stage, Alison. Now, iron play. To make birdies, you've got to hit it close. You know, to save par, you need to be good at scrambling. So talk to us about your fundamentals with your irons that you think helps you be so consistent.
So that's good. That's a good question. I would say you just have to work on what your strengths are. And, you know, sometimes you can show up to the golf course and it might not feel great. You might be constantly hitting a cut or constantly hitting a draw, and you just have to work with what you have. So I would say there are days where I'm hitting a big draw, or days where I'm hitting a little draw, days I'm hitting it perfectly straight, and you just kind of have to work with what you have and really understanding what your game looks like and taking that out to the course. So for example, let's say I'm hitting a draw that day and the pin is tucked on the back left corner of the green. I'm just going to be aiming right at the middle of the green, because I know if it draws the way I want to, it's perfect, but if it goes straight, it's still middle of the green. So like small things like that, and obviously having discussions with your caddy to make sure what's a good target, what's a good number, things like that.
I think that's an amazing tip for everyone at home, because you're not changing things, you're playing with what you've got, and then from there you can build your strategy. So I think that's a great tip. So what sort of shot shape do you generally hit and you like to see?
So for me, I love hitting it straight. I just want to see it go straight. Obviously, if I need to shape the ball a little bit here and there, I will. But I definitely prefer like a slight draw. I feel like if you look at most female golfers that play on tour, a lot of them hit a slight draw. The ones that do hit a cut, I would say, who are really successful at that are girls who have more strength and more power.
We see that in the men's game as well.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's why the men have to shape the shot. They have to hit it and shape it. They can't just hit it straight every time, because that can cause two-way misses. So I would say for most people, what people should learn from at home is it's always good to try and have a little bit of shape, because it'll get rid of the opposite. So if you can hit a cut every time and you know it's going to cut every time, that takes away the miss of going left, and then vice versa. So
and again,
that's why
strategy.
Exactly.
Let's see you hit one for us, Alison.
All right.
And then we're going to get you to talk about the technique throughout the swing afterwards.
All right.
So what club do you have here?
So I have an 8-iron.
That was a lovely push draw.
Thank you. So obviously haven't warmed up a ton yet. So for me, starting off, especially when I'm hitting range balls, I don't love to use 100% power, especially with my irons. I like to keep it more like 70 to 90% and try and control the ball a little bit more. Obviously that comes a lot of practice because then you can learn about how far you normally hit your irons. I would say my 8-iron typically goes around 150 carry.
Which is a good number out here.
Yeah, but I would say I don't always try and muscle it and hit it 150. I would cruise more around like 142, 143, stuff like that. And that too, it takes a lot of practice and understanding like how much power you take out of the shot to try and achieve the number you want.
Do you find that in tournament play you gain yardage through adrenaline?
100%. There have been times where I'll hit my 7-iron like 175 and kind of look around, look at my caddy and think, was it downwind? Like, how did I hit it that far? But yeah, those are things you definitely have to take into account. Those are conversations you need to have with yourself and your caddy too. Like, okay, you know, I know for me personally, if I'm ever in between clubs, I always think, okay, would I rather be long or short? And if I'd rather be short, I'll take the shorter club and try and hit a little bit of a bigger swing. And if it's okay to be long, I'll take the longer club and hit it a softer swing. Because if it goes too far, then you're still good. So there's a lot that goes into irons, like more so than just picking the number of the target and the pin and just hitting whatever that is.
And I think that's a great tip for everyone at home. Not only do you know your consistencies, you know how you can then build that into your strategy. Let's see you hit another one, and then we'll go to the screen and have a look.
Does the screen say how far it's going?
Yes, we can tell you.
Okay.
Charlie in my ear has confirmed.
Okay.
I mean, I coach a lot, and I would never stand here with any of my amateurs, but I feel
really?
very safe with you, Alison.
Yeah, hopefully I don't shank one. I haven't done that in a while.
It
happens though, it happens.
Let's not live it into existence right now. Right, let's see one more.
One more, okay.
Okay, we got 148 on that last one, so that's pretty close. And it will obviously go a little bit further with the conditions out here because it's hot, won't it? So that's something else.
And I would say on a mat too, sometimes when you're hitting off a mat, it might go a little further because it's the way it sits up a little bit.
Oh, here we go. Here's one we made earlier. Let's step back, Alison, and have a little look. So let's talk about setup. I always think P1 is crucial. So what can people learn at home about your setup with an iron?
So I would say when I talk to anyone and give them lessons on the swing, it always comes back to the 3 basics. And for me, that's grip, setup, and ball position. Before you even think about what your swing needs to look like, or if you're hitting bad shots here and there, those are the 3 main things that you should always fall back to and make sure it's the same every time.
And what I love here as well is talk about posture, arms just hanging nicely. You've got the back of the legs just on the heels. Weight distribution and feet, where's that?
I would say at the setup, for me, it's pretty 50-50.
Yeah. Let's play it through. When did you last look at your swing?
Maybe
I mean, how have I
2-3
stopped it
weeks
there?
ago.
Do that again, Rachel. Now this is the money maker, going through the trail forearm, the fact the shaft goes through there. Is that something you look for to get your neutral ball flight?
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, it's tough to see where the club face is here.
Yeah.
But for me, my tendency is once in a while, I get the club face a little too open on the downswing. You definitely want the club face to be more square, especially for me if you want to hit that draw.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time, that's something I always look at, and that's something you could tell at the top of the swing as well. Also for me, my hip turn and where my shoulders are. When I get to longer clubs or with driver, sometimes my hips rotate a little too quickly, and that can cause me to get that open club face and hit it a little bit to the right. So for me personally, I love having just trying to feel a slightly closed on the downswing before impact.
So I think a good tip for everyone at home, like you said, is actually getting the club face matching your spine angle on the way down. That's a really good one, because then you can just turn as much as you like, which is what you're talking about. Now, let's see you hit a few more. We'll come back onto the mat.
Okay.
What do you need to know in terms, like from your caddy, to be consistent with your irons? What sort of numbers do you need? What's your mental strategy?
So I would say you need multiple numbers, and it's tough to be a caddy because you always have to be on and you always have to be thinking and calculating all these things. So for me, I always like to know what the distance is to the pin, and then I need a minimum cover distance. So whether that's the front of the green, whether that's a bunker cover, having those numbers, and then what the max number is. So that could be, like I said, the back of the green or a bunker or trouble or something like that where I want to avoid. So let's say, with this club, I have an 8-iron. Let's say perfectly the pin is 150, and minimum number, let's say to cover a bunker, is 140, and then I have a max distance of 160. So for me, that would be a perfect 8-iron. I don't need to think too much about it. I know it will, exactly, I know it will cover the 140 if I hit it solid. I know it won't carry 160 unless something crazy happens. And obviously wind and stuff come into play too, but if we're talking basic numbers, those are the numbers that I love and I need. And obviously it depends too whether it's wind or if the greens are firm and stuff like that. But those are the basic 3 numbers that I always would like to know from my caddy. It's the pin, a minimum cover number, and then a maximum
That's
number.
a great tip for everyone at home, because most people just normally get one number and hope
Exactly.
for the best.
Yeah, you just shoot the pin and it's like, okay, let's
And
go.
it's go time.
But I mean, I think that helps a lot, especially when you're in between clubs. Because let's say the pin was 145 and minimum cover was 135, then it kind of goes into the territory of maybe it's a 9-iron. But if I hit my 9-iron a little poorer, it might be too short, it might go in the bunker. So it's a lot of things you want to think about, and it could definitely shave a few strokes off.
Let's see you hit one more.
Yeah.
And finally, mentality. Do you visualize, or are you literally just...
Yes, I definitely visualize, and I try not to visualize too much when I'm here. I'm sure you've heard of, I don't know if you've heard, but they call it the think box and the play box, and that's something Pia and Lynn from Vision 54 have taught, and I learned that as a little kid. That was like one of the first things I learned. But you call this the play box. Once you come up here and you're set up, this is where it's time to just go. This is where you hit and you execute your shot. And you have your think box, which is back here, where you think like, okay, I want to hit this.
3 numbers.
Exactly. I want my 3 numbers. I want to hit this a certain distance. I'm going to aim this 5 yards right of the pin and try and hit a little draw. And you think about all that here. And then once you go up here and it's time to set up, you try and make sure you just lock in on what your target is and not think too much about the other stuff, because you have your club in your hand. You just want to execute the shot.
Right, play box, let's go.
Exactly. Exactly.
Amazing. Alison, you've given us so much information.
Yeah.
You're a champion already on the Aramco Team Series. Let's head for another 29 under this week,
I
shall
hope
we?
so, yeah, it's doable.
Thank you so much for joining us, Alison.
Thank you.
Play well.